Once upon a time, a ship was destroyed in a violent storm, and all its passengers drowned, except for one man. By the grace of God, he miraculously survived and washed ashore on a desolate island. When he regained consciousness, he found himself utterly alone. In desperation, he knelt and prayed, "Oh God, please send me help." But no help came. Days passed and he continued to pray each morning, but still, no one arrived to rescue him. Eventually, he accepted his fate, believing he was meant to live out the rest of his life on this lonely island. Determined to survive, the man gathered wood and grass and built a small hut for shelter. He also scavenged items from the wrecked ship and stored them in his new home. He survived by eating coconuts and catching fish, living in solitude within his modest hut. One day, after lighting a fire to prepare food, the man left to gather more supplies. Upon his return, he was horrified to find his hut engulfed in flames. Everything he had built and collected was now destroyed. Overcome with anger and despair, he raised his fists to the sky and cried, "Oh God, why? I asked you for help, and instead, you have taken the only thing I had left. You are so cruel." That night, he fell asleep on the beach, exhausted and broken. The next morning, he was awoken by a loud noise. Rubbing his eyes, he was shocked to see a ship anchored near the shore. His heart raced with disbelief and joy. Help had finally come. As he boarded the ship, he asked the captain, "How did you know I was here?" The captain replied, "We saw the fire signal you sent from the island, so we came to investigate." Confused, the man said, "But I didn't send any signal." The captain smiled. "We saw a huge fire and knew someone must be stranded here." Suddenly, the man understood. The fire that had burned down his hut, the one that made him so angry, had been the very signal that saved his life. What he thought was a disaster was, in fact, part of God's greater plan. The man fell to his knees and thanked God. He realized that while his own plans had failed, God's plan was always in motion, greater and wiser than anything he could have imagined. Moral of the story: in life, we often plan and hope for things to go a certain way, but when they don't, we feel lost or abandoned. Yet in those moments of despair, it's important to remember that God has a bigger, better plan for us than we could ever foresee. Our trials, while painful, may be part of a divine purpose leading to something greater. Keep faith, remain patient, and trust that sometimes what seems like a setback is actually the path to salvation.